Hello, everybody. Hello, Asaf. Hello, Chris. Hello, world. We are that show that speaks about the world through the wisdom of Kabbalah. Really, really try and find another one. Bring us people. Bring us to the people who are the ones who want to go above every religion, every nationality, everything, and only want to focus on who say that the system of love, who study every day that there is a force in nature that is a force of love that organizes everything. And that's who these people are. That's who we are. We are those people who are studying that every day. There is a wisdom called the wisdom of Kabbalah. Hello, everybody. That's Asaf and Chris and myself and all the friends who are studying with us. There's, in essence, like a musical note, a song of love that's emanating out of life at all times. And we're a very crude instrument. Imagine we're in an instrument made at first just out of mud. It a lot of flopping around as that energy passes through it, but it develops and develops and develops. But at the end of the day, that form, matter, will develop to hear that song. Asaf, you inspired me so much when you just got us ready for the show that my head is in two places. So,
Uh,
yeah. So
let's
let me get
just
back. Asaf really,
freestyle it. Just okay.
okay. Asaf really got me going before the show started, like by reminding Chris and I that there is one. Asaf, you explain it, and then let me jump back in because you did it so beautifully there.
I'm not sure
Um,
what.
It was good. I mean, it
Oh,
was
okay,
good.
okay. We went from a very inner place. Now I remember.
yeah, yeah.
What, to open all that now? You feel that's
Just
what we
just
should do?
just squeeze it all over
So,
everything, and then we can
okay,
get back into the
okay.
story.
Well, we should reveal as people who practice the wisdom of Kabbalah, we try to set our intention before every action. We try to always bring to light this aspect of what do we want to happen out of whatever it is that we do. Why? Because this is really the force that governs the results in our world. It's human desire. That's what's changing. That's what's developing. Desires and intentions are what makes or breaks the world. And as a Kabbalist, you get to see that more and more. And so, in our daily lessons, we were talking about how our teacher, Kabbalist Dr. Michael Lightman, is these days reading with us the foreword to the Book of Zohar, a deeply, highly spiritual text, very, very interesting stuff about the spiritual colors, the spiritual sounds, the spiritual music that a Kabbalist begins to hear through their work on connecting with more points in the hearts, with more like-minded people, people who have this kind of desire. And so we thought about what's our intention during this show, and we said that just like we're doing this, practicing this, learning how to hear nature's music through this work of connection. Nature's music plays everywhere. It plays through everything that's happening to mankind. It plays through everything good and bad that we go through as a global society. It's the climate crisis, it's the economic crisis, it's political and social polarization, and it's also developments in technology, and it's social media. Everything that's happening is part of this symphony of human evolution that has a certain music. There is a certain pattern, many patterns, and they build together and coalesce together into a harmony if you learn how to hear it. And add your note. That's another thing. Nature wants us
This
to
is
add our note too.
this is beautiful, and
Yeah.
that's you did it. You hit the nail on the head there. It's some we call it love, life, the life of lives, whatever that force is. It's the most beautiful song ever, right? The song that gives every bird its song, that makes every star spin, every black hole, everything live is this force of life. And opposite that is matter, is all matter that is trying to be the instrument on which that can play. What's happening now is we have then also, as the wisdom of Kabbalah, Kabbalah meaning to enjoy, we need to enjoy this whole process as well. So not only is the greatest song ever being played, it's the most enjoyable. The essence, what is it called? The purpose of creation, the thought of creation is to create a creature and to fill it with delight. So it's maybe a little lost known fact that in the wisdom of Kabbalah, the whole point is to actually receive endless delight. So how does that happen when you have a world full of people who are totally different? Each one of these people wants to be filled by themselves, and you have billions of different people. When social media came out, at first, the algorithms helped people connect with each other, helped people find other people who liked things I liked. But it turns out that as those got more and more accurate and more effective at giving people what it is that they wanted to hear, it turns out that there's very, very different opinions about things. And at the beginning of a symphony, you could hear the instruments, everyone's kind of like tuning and finding their place. And that's kind of where we are now as a society. Everyone's tuning their place. And the wisdom of Kabbalah, comes then and explains where the music is in all that. How to like read the music on what's going on.
Right, like how to feel the conductor. And then we're all, where is the conductor?
Because otherwise,
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm going to try something brave and wild. I'm going to try and play a video here that
it's
I'm not really great at technology. So
with sound?
Yeah, with sound. So just
okay.
Tell me, I'm going to go for it.
It should work if you're...
Okay, so watch this. This is one. I want to show you three characters.
I'm killing the babies.
Okay, so she says, I'm killing the babies. That's one character. We don't care about the characters themselves, but we want to see, we want to see this next song here. Check out this song.
For abortion, thank God for abortion. Thank God for abortion. Thank God for abortion.
Okay, we don't care about what they're saying or anything yet. Really, what we just want to show is these different characters. And watch this character also.
So this show is playing out where?
This is something that happened. The third character was great also, if I could find him. There was a group of boys from the church, young men from the church, who were standing there calling on Saint Michael, I think, to defend them against wickedness. Mm-hmm. So there was a whole abortion thing that happened in America.
My brain is like just went through like a washing. I doesn't know what it just experienced.
Yeah,
that was interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is the kind of stuff that you get in your feed. That's Twitter. What was that?
That's Twitter. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You have one person who's reacting to the abortion situation as an artist or something, that like, you're killing babies, or I'm killing the babies, or whatever.
Right.
You have another group of
so that was the person with like the dolls or something like that?
Dolls inside, right.
Okay.
Then you have
Very
another
creative.
group of then you have another group of people who are like kind of praying that abortion is legal for whatever reasons they think it's necessary or think that it should be around. But thank God for abortion.
Okay, so that's
singing,
the
like
other,
praying.
right? Okay.
But it's not like praying like they're religious, but it did kind of sound religious, like a religious hymn.
It had a
but it's
choiry feel to it.
Choiry.
But
she was singing with heart. Yeah.
No, but the fact that it had a choiry thing, and that you normally would think of choir related to church, you kind of realize that it's like really not religion so much. It's more of these groups, these types of people. And then you had.
It sounded like a gospel. Yeah, I mean,
I
it
need to
doesn't,
show you the final
even if
video
it's not
because-
inside the church. Yeah. Okay.
And the third video, I didn't realize you were going to be so into it, but since I could tell you're finding it interesting, also, I would like to show you the third video.
No, I mean, we're looking
I'm
at.
just afraid to react.
Let's throw in a disclaimer here. On this show, and whatever it is that we show and talk about, we really aren't talking about politics. We're looking at society as spiritual sociologists, if you will.
Okay,
That's
you ready to
kind
see
of
the
like
last?
Okay.
kind of
see
the
the-
Kabbalist
Spiritual
perspective.
sociology.
Okay, go ahead.
Put that in our
What's-
byline. Okay, watch this part.
Yeah.
Well, this does look religious.
Oh, that's another group. That's a whole other group in the same. That's a. Sorry,
Yeah.
I spoke over
Yeah,
the
that-
thing. I don't know if our,
We should be able to
everyone
speak
heard
over
it.
the
That was-
thing.
Yeah,
We should be
yeah,
able to
yeah.
do that.
Okay,
That was
so
the
wait,
third group.
and they were all in the same place.
Same thing. Yeah.
Same
They
thing.
were all playing. Yeah, they were saying, calling on Saint Michael. They were all at the exact same event. Actually, those guys were doing their thing in front of her, doing her
Right. So here's
Okay.
here's my immediate take as a spiritual sociologist.
Let's hear it.
Wow. That's my
Yeah, first of all,
take.
wow.
That's my take.
First of all, like what?
Like
Okay, that's a
wow
lot.
in the
Okay.
sense that
God made all that. God did that.
Yeah.
no, I mean this is I don't want to take away from the you can never judge a person until you're in his shoes. We know that from the how the laws of perception of reality works. So I think it's important to say that we're not judging anyone, and we're not passing criticism on anyone.
What I'm interested in is
but
why
what's the
God
phenomenon?
did this,
Yeah.
and how are they supposed to unite? That's what I'm interested in. I don't care that what God made, really. I mean, I care,
So-
but I can't do anything about what God made. We call the Creator. The Creator made this reality. I mean, it is what it is. There's billions of people who are not me,
Mhm.
right? So like, there's three groups right there on a same
Right.
street corner.
Right.
How are they going to get along? What method?
Nature
What way?
nature likes diversity. Diversity is built into the fabric of all of nature, all of our biosphere and chemistry. Without different kinds of atoms, you wouldn't have different kinds of molecules there, and without those molecules, you wouldn't have different kinds of organs, and you wouldn't have different kinds of creatures. All of the balance and homeostasis of Earth depends on what we call biodiversity, for example. In short, nature increases diversity and thrives on diversity, and we are that diversity. And so the fact that we're seeing more and more diversity, and look, it's everywhere. It's in terms of gender and sexuality and sexual orientation. It's with regards to politics. It's with regards to economics. It's everywhere, and it's more and more extreme. So it's not that just that we're diverse. We're diverse. We are very opposite, different from each other,
So
and it's
thi-
part
this-
of what nature needs
This
for
is the
evolution to take
confirmation.
place. Yeah.
Okay, so this is the confirmation bias that's going on online, or in general, but online, where there's so much out there that and you guys probably have noticed this. You don't really, like, oh yeah, Yuval Harari, like awesome guy, like great author. He did a great job, like explaining history. Like you didn't actually like read all his books. You just kind of like, there's like so much going on out there. You just kind of like grab a little bit. Oh, like Deepak Chopra. Oh yeah, like he's good. He's like
I actually
very
had a
relaxed.
little talk with Yuval Noah Harari.
Okay, I'm trying to make a point. I
a
don't.
while ago.
I'm
No,
just
sorry.
saying in
Go ahead.
general.
Go ahead. Yeah.
What I'm saying is there's so much out there. You're like, oh yeah, like psychedelic drugs. Oh yeah, when you just you like you taste unity and whatever. Oh yeah. Like
Okay.
there's so much out there that we just kind of generalize who we are and what we believe. Like for example, someone might see a Jew and attack a Jew, right? And they're like, oh, Jews are like this. But if you know a lot of Jews, that Jews are like so different. They're like all they could hate each other, but like people on the outside would look
Different.
At the
You
whole
mean
group
different
and be
between
like,
themselves?
Jews.
The-
Yeah,
okay.
within
Yeah.
themselves.
There's a bunch of different kinds of wrappings for each person. Everyone's just wrapped in a bunch of different
Okay,
wrapping.
Seth.
Okay,
Let me
that's
see if I
that's the point.
let me see if I understood the point. Let me say it in my words, okay, and correct me if I'm wrong, if I didn't get it. What you're saying is we tend to generalize That's what you're saying? Like, that's basically, it's easier for us to say this is white, this is black, this is 1, this is 0, this is left, this is right, right? But really,
Yeah, like
there's much
the
more.
woman who's sitting out there may have had like a very strong need to communicate something.
Yeah.
The best thing that she had available was like, I'm killing babies, or like these other girls may have wanted to really sing out their heart, but like the best thing they could sing that morning was like, thank God for abortions. Like maybe,
Thank God.
you know what I mean? You just
Yeah.
grab for like whatever is kind of like in the air and you just go for it. And the issue is there's just crap in the air. That's the issue, that most of what's in the air is crap. And so what's happening is the sides are being more and more polarization.
Okay.
That's what we're
and
seeing.
you're
It's
you're
hard-
saying that in the context of social media as well,
yeah,
right?
I'm trying to. I'm not. Yeah, I mean, I'm talking all over the place, but that's thank you for understanding where I'm trying to go.
No,
Well,
no,
so
'cause-
basically you're saying
Yep.
there's just the same extreme just on the other end, but we didn't see a video of that, but we know that that it's there. But that was just one example you're saying. What we just saw is
Really what I want to show is how the algorithm is so good at getting people to follow a certain kind of narrative, whether it's the Christian guy narrative, whether it's the girls for the women's rights thing, or whether it's the artist thing. Now, here's the thing that I really wanted to say. Wouldn't it be great if somehow, like, why doesn't it happen for the good? Like, why doesn't anyone write an algorithm that makes anything good? Is there anything that we could show that's good in the world? Really? Like, what is good? Are we feeding anyone? Are we saving anyone? Are there any good things that are happening? And why is it that all of this polarization, not all, I can't say all, right? But why does it seem that so much of what we see in the news, in the world, is people more and more against each other? And it's like obvious, and we see it in our politics, and we see it between countries, and we see it with Russia and Ukraine now. We see it everywhere. It's like more and more polarization. I don't see that people are getting closer together.
That's
People are
right.
helping.
I think we should, before we talk about how
Look
to
at this.
change. Yeah.
Look at
Okay.
this.
Okay.
Did a quick search. I don't know if this is anything to do with what you're talking about. Study. An abundance of media fuels polarization. Here it's saying an abundance of media. It's a little bit different of what you're saying. But
Yale
clearly people are
Insights.
looking
This
into
is a
Yale
research
Insights.
from Yale
University.
Right? Okay.
Yeah. So there's something there. I'm not really sure what it says. I didn't look into it.
No, that's
Is giving people more sources better? Does that help society learn the truth more effectively?
No, that's the
Also big
confirmation
questions.
bias thing. No, the answer is no, it doesn't. What happens is people start to gravitate towards that kind of confirms what they already believe.
Yeah.
And
From
not only that, anger happens to be an emotion. Wonder why nature would do that. I'm not sure. It'd be good to talk about it. But it's way
That is
easier to get
interesting.
people angry than it is to get people to support something or build something.
yeah.
So you have those things that nature made, right? We're not like blaming Fox News or CNN News or the Arabs or the Jews, or like, that's not what you're going to get here at the Great Transition. We're looking at what nature is showing us. We're looking at what nature made. And then through the wisdom of Kabbalah, trying to say, what is going on here? What can we see? What can we learn? What do the books already tell us? And where are we going?
I think we need to still make room for human involvement in this whole thing. Like, the algorithms, they are a human creation. Now, all human creations are also nature's creations, of course, but human beings have a certain kind of latitude in our own evolution, a certain kind of conscious participation. And what we're doing with these algorithms, and it's just like, I'm sure this is what that research that Chris brought up shows. I've read quite a few of similar things, and what research is finding more and more is that the algorithms are definitely exacerbating and intensifying social polarization. So nature creates these diversity, these different kinds of animals and different kinds of people with different kinds of views. Nature, we're very novel as human beings, which means we're very different from each other. We are we're more different than any other species among ourselves. Like you look at a school of fish or a flock of birds or a pack of wolves or whatever it is, they're much more similar. All animals and all plants are much closer to their species. We are very different, and every person, every individual is also very complex in and of themselves. And
Yeah,
so,
but I'm always thinking like, fine, I'm different. I'm different than him
yeah,
or whatever. I hate what he stands for, but whatever. That's how it is. I hate him or he's different than me. That's just how it is. You know, I don't know why I feel this way. I don't know why I like sushi and he doesn't like sushi, but that's just how it is. I don't need to try to
right,
not like sushi to be closer to him or
but
there's all these kind of weird.
we have to live with each other on the same planet and on the same society, sometimes on the same city, in the same city, and under the same federal laws if we're in the same country and so
And
on.
the same house, even if you
Same
wanna go
house
that far.
sometimes, right? Exactly. So we have to find a way to live with our differences. Now, if you have these very polarizing issues, such as
Wait, let me tell you.
Yep.
Let me tell you real quick what it said in this article. I just read some. He says a
Yep.
partial fix. This is what Manshadi, I guess one of the researchers. First, people need to actively suppress their biases. This is what he's recommending. Suppress your biases, and people need to expose themselves to diverse news sources. So it's like saying, yeah, guys, you take this into your hands. You guys make the right changes. You guys do take the right steps, according to him, which obviously seems like a lot of work and something that's not realistic. In other words, they urge consumers to read beyond the bubble of your social networks. Who's going to actively,
who's going to do it on their own?
consciously try
Yeah.
to? Yeah, where's that going to come from?
So back this to Seth's point, these algorithms are filling the air with hostility. They're making our differences they're fueling conflict by putting these differences in opposition to each other. They're not
It's
conducive
impossible to change it. You can't really legislate that to change because the money will always grease the wheel. So how you can't change that. It'll always go
Not
towards
unless you
the
take it private.
advertisers. But the profit, everyone's going to always want to make a profit.
Yeah,
How would you be able to change that? I mean, I know it's brand new, right? It's only a few years old, this whole problem, but still,
Yeah.
how would you change that? Because it's always just going to go towards, it's the law of nature. It's always going to go towards the least amount of effort for the most amount of profit, right?
Yeah. The social networks want you to spend as much time as possible. Just maximize attention and time.
Yeah, we've talked
Forget
about
about social network. Imagine if
Yeah.
it's just some law, some natural occurrence that happened in a river somewhere where something was converted into something. Time, billions of hours goes into this thing and creates billions of dollars. It's just a mechanism.
Yeah.
How would it do
Okay.
anything else?
Because humans, they don't want to exert effort to specially arrange themselves in a particular way that's against
So
their
could
nature.
you set up the algorithm to teach everybody to teach such a lame word? Could you set up an algorithm to entertain, to fun everybody into loving everybody?
I mean, sure. But
Yeah.
we've also had a show dedicated just to that, where I think we even said like, people are coming to the recognition that there's so much stench in these networks that it's almost, you can't really change them to make them better. You just have to look in a different place to find the answer. Can we leave that as a question? Do we have to solve that answer right now? I want to talk about something that's kind of interesting. Do you want to solve this question? We can keep going. Let's just.
No, I think
you wanna
it's
keep going?
impossible. Actually, I don't have an answer, but let's keep going.
To do
That's what I
what?
was thinking, that's what I
Impossible to
said.
do what? Just to
To
solve
make
the.
for some business person to make some
Okay.
algorithm.
If
that
if
would
you
just-
give me a target audience of like-minded people who are interested in finding, let's call it, unity in their diversity, in finding how opposite views complement each other, if they're interested in that to begin with.
I don't think people are interested in it. I think people are interested in wanting to feel good. It just so turns out that loving others is the way to make it happen. I don't think people are just interested in it. I think people just want to find a way to make life good.
I agree. I'm trying to understand the conditions of the experiment you're asking about. Like what exactly is it that you're saying is impossible?
I can't imagine that some guys could set up a social network that people would open up every morning and be given a small piece of wisdom about life that would help them in their relationships, that would help them at work.
Who's the
They could
target
go out.
audience for that social media?
Humanity.
Okay, yeah. So that's a problem. No, because if we're talking about people who, out of the whole of humanity, who are already aiming to work on connecting on a higher level, then
That's an idea.
they can
Start with a small group first.
Sure, then
I'm in.
it's
I'm in.
yeah. So that's
Well, listen,
that works.
this just got me thinking about it. It's this post from Reddit I saw. I don't know who Annie is. It's I guess this was taken from Twitter. Every time I have a programming question and I really need help, I post it on Reddit and then log into another account and reply to it with an obscenely incorrect answer. People don't care about helping others, but they love correcting others. Works 100% of the time.
So true. Yeah. So that's such a good example. I mean, we
good luck,
have
humanity.
these. Yeah, what we said before, negativity bias is something big that we have. Being critical of others, judging others, all that built-in social psychology is why it's built in. Yes. It is built in. That's our nature. There is no human.
Exactly, so
One second.
how-
There is no human being who's. I think I'm on to what Seth wanted to talk about before. That there is no human being who doesn't have these qualities. If you're a human being, you have an egoistic perception of the world. There is no such thing. People who are born, outside of the outside of egoism, even if they love all other people by nature and they seem on the face of it completely altruistic, they still do it because that's just their way of fulfilling their egos. And there's like a 10% of humanity are like that. And you'll see them, some of them are, you can call tree huggers or, green activists or whatever, could maybe fit the bill of that description. Balasolam says there's about like maybe 10% of humanity who are like that by nature. But
But at least they're doing things
and everyone
that we
else
can all agree on are good.
Yeah, sure. In most
please.
cases. Sure. I'm not But the thing is that we are all we all start our journey of life from an egoistic bubble that we are in. And that's okay. That's what we are. I don't remember what.
But no one's saying.
What we
let
were.
me out. Let me out of this. No
Why
one's
did I
saying
bring
that.
it up though? What were we trying to talk about?
Here we go. Maybe Seth's got another. Oh god. Wait.
I just should. It was just.
What
it was
is
just
that
YouTube
now?
On the subway of Kiev.
That'll help.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That'll
That'll
help.
help. Exactly. Come on, guys. This is the best we can do.
That's what I'm saying.
That's what I mean. Asaf, which guy, which musician, which company? They're the biggest rock band. They're rock royalty. They set up some Hollywood lights in a subway. They go with a Kiev singer in a subway. Really, that's the best we can do in a war. Really, guys? I also hate it when I go really, because I know that's the thing.
It's really cringe. It's
No,
like
it's
really
like-
it's hard for me to
It's
even like
cringy. Yeah.
That's the best thing that the best guys that we got can do. That are best guys that our society created can do. The top guys. I don't know, it's so it's disheartening.
So let me talk about this then. I'm gonna just move you guys. This might be something that is interesting to you because it's it's a little more on the positive side, maybe. Cell rejuvenation. I don't know. This is from the BBC. Rejuvenation of woman's skin could tackle diseases of aging. So that's good, right? Isn't that something that we're all struggling with? They've successfully rejuvenated 53-year-old woman's skin, so they're equivalent now to a 23-year-old. So that's kind of, now you have the idea of what they're trying to do. But essentially, if you keep reading down, where are we here? Yes, they want to do that. It can't really be translated
Wait,
yet.
what is that? He said 30 years. What?
What are you looking? Yeah, 30 years. What? He said, I remember the day I got the results back, and I didn't quite believe it that some of the cells were 30 years younger. So very exciting. Well, I'm gonna
Right.
have to do a
Okay.
word
So
search
there are
here.
some.
Oh, right. The technique cannot quite. This is interesting. It cannot be translated immediately because it still increases the risk of cancer. So it's like very exciting, but also still very far away. So don't get the wrong impression. It's not. We're not.
Right.
We're not de-aging by 30 years anytime soon. But it's a direction that scientists are taking, and they thinking it'd be beneficial for humanity in some way. So they're
So the greatest
investing.
rock stars in the world have another 30 years to perform in subways. Yeah.
Right. On top of how old is Bono? He's like, what is he, like 60?
I don't
He's
know.
gotta
Listen,
be.
blessings to Bono. That's not what I mean about Bono, but
He's been doing this his whole career. That's where
Good for
where
him.
he gets
lucky
fulfilled.
guy. But what I'm saying is, you know what I'm saying. I still have the same commentary, even though you changed the story.
Oh, right. How do we jump back to that? Because that's more interesting. I get it. It is a little bit more interesting. I don't know. Asaf is more
The
of a science
cell
nerd.
rejuvenation thing is it's like isn't it the same as what Bezos is trying to do? I think he's hiring scientists now to defeat death.
We had a couple of shows
which
about
we talked
that,
about at
yeah.
some point. The funny thing is we think about it as new, right? It's like this science, it's developing and it's new thing, and maybe we're gonna, in the future, we might be able to to preserve the body in some way and all that. But the thought of doing that goes back thousands of years ago to like ancient Egypt, if you want. What's mummification? What were they trying to do? They were trying to make the body live forever, essentially. However you look at it. And the problem I have with this is there's a difference between using medicine and technology and science to heal the body, even to increase our longevity by making the body work better. That's great, sure. But the idea of that science and technology and medicine will make us live forever, that is just it sounds like a complete misunderstanding of nature. So is nature's that stupid that everything in nature has this cycle of birth and growth and maturation, decline and death? Everything in nature goes through metamorphosis. Every plant, every animal, even plants, stars, in galaxies, they live and die.
I'll put a fun spin on it. Pretty much every other creature just eats like out of the earth, right? A bird just eats a berry. A big fish eats a small fish, right? But humans, we do a whole cooking, like we fry onions and then we take a meat and then we age it. Like we do a separate thing with stuff that the other creatures don't do. So what's the problem? If I can like get some really good face serum that makes my skin like 30 years younger, like, so I'll still die.
No, I don't see a problem with that. I don't see a problem with that.
Different.
I think there's a difference between healing the body and even increasing longevity. But if the thought behind it is how can we prevent the body from aging and dying, that is directly in opposition to how nature works.
It's such a focus on the body.
Is not exactly. The body is not meant to live forever. It's not designed to do that. The body is just a temporary existence. That's what it is. It's not even an existence. It's a temporary perception. The body is this temporary mode of perceiving in order to rise to a deeper level of perception where there is actually no death. What is death? What's death? What is it? Can someone explain to me what is death?
It's like the ultimate fear of everybody.
Right,
It's the ultimate fear. Why? Because in the end I die, or why
but what
won't
is
I do
it?
this? Because I might get
What
hurt.
is it? Explain death. What does death mean? How do you define
end.
death? The end
It's
of
the
something.
end of me feeling like this.
The end of
Sensing
me.
and feeling colors, flavors, existence.
But what is death in nature? In the whole of nature, does anything die? Is there something that actually dies?
Doesn't really seem like it. Because it doesn't really feel like it lives. It's just doing it. It's what it's doing.
Even basic physics, like the if you go to the very essence of it, if you really think about what we're seeing, we're looking at a constantly dynamically changing energy or matter, the law of conservation of energy, or the law of preservation of matter, same thing essentially.
It's like you
right?
took the
I don't
speed
care
of-
about that though.
beyond the speed
Wait.
of light, and you just slowed it down and slowed it down and slowed it down and slowed it down until it's our perception.
Yes, exactly. And we're just
Right.
and then we are just like, we're perceiving just a moment in this eternal cycle of life, and we therefore are very worried about when
I don't
this
want my
will
moment
go.
to go away. Even
Exactly.
like in the Renaissance, it was like I'm leaving something. Even after I
moment.
go, I'm still leaving something of me that gets to
Right.
stay in reality,
Now-
even though I don't know about it.
Now, I agree with you that who cares about the philosophical statement that there is no death? So what? I am worried about dying because I know that my body is going to die, and that's why I care a lot if they're going to be able to preserve the body. I get that. But what if it is possible for us to rise to a different level of perception, a different level of existence, where we are actually part of that eternal, not as a philosophy, not as a poetic kind of understanding, but that we actually get to experience life outside of this minimal, transient, temporary perception we call body. What if we
No, tell me where
have-
to buy the ticket, and I'll get the ticket and,
so the
and
ticket,
the entrance fee.
exactly.
Like,
So the
just
ticket,
tell me where I can buy it, and that's it. More than that,
the
sounds
ticket,
like a lot of work.
the ticket to eternity is in the space between us. It's in the connections between us. It's not in our individual bodies. It's not in our individual anything. It's in that governing force of life, governing force of nature that binds together all the atoms and all the molecules and all the animals and all the plants and all the planets and all the people. We can feel it between us. That's the whole thing we're missing. That's why if we focus on that, not only we can actually come out to a completely different perception of reality where eternity is possible, where eternity, wholeness, perfection, all these ideals that we somehow have as human beings but can never attain, that's where they exist. They're not inside our limited individualistic, egoistic perception that paints a picture of a material body in a material world. They're just not there.
Chris was
Yeah.
so funny when he's like, I want my moment. Because it's like there's eternity. This literally every person has so many experiences, and every person together has so many experiences, and every generation, every past generation, it's just endless. But we're like, give me my moment.
Yeah.
It's like the smallest possible increment. And we're spending so much time on that.
It's
When you taste that it's a lie, it's just really scary.
yeah.
You don't know what to do with that.
It always dawns on me when there's this part at the end. I think it's at the very end of the Peace in the World article from Bar Sulam, where he writes the change, the transition towards a spiritual dimension of existence just starts with a simple psychological shift. That's it.
Right.
It's just recognizing that my moment is so very little, and it's nothing compared to experiencing the wholeness that exists in reality. And if
But
we
society,
yeah, you're right.
society produces your psychology.
That's true.
If you really want to get
Yes.
to it, then that's basically what's happened. That's why every time we keep bringing up social media on this show,
Yeah.
because it's like it's such a tool. It's like
because
just
social media is
important.
kind of like
so strong.
it is very powerful. And ooh, I'm sorry, that makes a lot
This
of noise.
is how a soft pours water. Hold on, let me show you how a soft pours water. He's like,
Because I have a problem here with
Like,
the mic arm here is an issue.
Somehow that was the easiest way to do it from
Wait.
his perspective.
but he's gonna take the cup from underneath, though. It doesn't make sense.
This is why it's so great when you study Kabbalah, because you're immediately like after a while it takes a long time, but these habits of like, oh, I need to like justify what I just saw. It seems so backwards to me, but for him it was the right thing to do, and I accepted that, like just
Oh, I
because
thought you
that's
were gonna
just,
talk about the universe. You're talking about a soft pouring his water.
it starts from a soft pouring as water. That's where it all starts. Really, everyone's in this little bubble and they have all their own little like niche experiences. That's why it's really interesting, that first topic that you brought up, because it like just shows you something like far and strange to my actual experience, but it exists. Clearly it exists, and somehow there's all these differences around me that I'm not even really aware of. I'm really only aware of what's in my, touching my small little bubble until I see something like that. And it just shows you that it makes you feel like what we have. It seems like we have a lot of work, like a long way to go before humanity
so
is
it's
ever really talking about
The work
we're saying.
really, I'm really thinking about it now that you say it. The work is like this fat around my heart, where like I think it's more like fat than it would be like a callus, because you say the word connection, or we talk about connection so often, but to actually feel sensitive towards another person, you could say the word so many times, but until I finally become a little bit sensitive to feel someone else, it's really, I didn't even know that I had a heart. Once I start to feel someone a little bit, I'm like, oh, like I didn't even have that feeling.
Here's an
prior.
experiment. How you're in for an experiment? Quick experiment.
Yes.
Okay. This is for everyone, everybody, friends, guys and gals listening to us.
All right, we're live.
This is for everybody. So let's imagine that there's a genie, right? The genie in a bottle type of thing, right? But it takes only one.
Will Smith or Robin Williams?
Whichever works from you. Will Smith, is he still qualified to whatever to be
Right.
a
Sorry,
genie?
I should have
Anyway.
checked.
Anyway, so here's the question. One wish, not three, not two. There's one wish you can ask for. This is for everybody. Tell us in the chat what you think, right? So you can ask for one wish. It will definitely, I promise you, it will definitely happen. It will definitely happen, but it has to be just one. You can only ask for one wish. What would it be? So let's give our friends let's what, we have a few minutes. Let's get
like
back
if you
to
could
it.
cut a
Let's talk
key.
about something else and get back to it at the end, and I'll tell you why I'm bringing this up. I asked someone that question just recently, and without
That
sharing
changes
details,
that question changes. I don't want to dwell on it, but just want to say that it changes completely. It's a completely different question than you have three wishes.
yes,
That's a totally
very
different question.
different. Yes.
Yeah, that's very
By the way, regardless of anything, I know it's been, and again, of course, on our show, we are agnostic of politics. We try and be. We just want to talk about what's going on in the world. But I know it's been a pretty heated situation. You guys act very calm, but I know some people weren't sending their kids to school, and there's been like a lot of violence in the streets lately, and it's kind of a
you mean here?
Here in
yeah,
Israel?
it's kind of like
Yeah.
a seasonal thing, not seasonal, but from time to time, these kind of waves of heat happen, and it usually has some kind of, yeah, you guys are in the Middle East there, and it usually has some relation to things that are going on in America somehow, or other things that are happening in the world. But I know that it's been, our cities were burning the other summer, and we talked about it for, a show or two. So
Right.
I know it's been
Wow.
pretty
That was
hot
a
there
year
again
ago.
recently. How is, speaking of just different people and different situations,
Right.
and how we're going to make peace. How's it going?
I listen. So I don't know. I'm sure just because you're connected to a lot of people, but maybe a lot of people don't know. But in a lot of other countries, there's a lot of different threats that exist. In Israel, it just happens to be that the threat is what it could come as a gun or a knife, or an axe, or whatever, in the hands of an extremist. So it changes. So just because that they're on the street, it could be literally anywhere. It just changes the way that you operate and what you're concerned about. You have an extra fear, kind of like this extra fear baggage, and it changes your calculations. But it also ties into what you were saying before. It's just, this is like, all these things exist, and differences to such an extent that your life is at stake. And don't forget about what's happening in Russia, and with Russia and Ukraine. I mean, it's easy to disconnect from that lately, but really, life isn't like, just give me 30 more years. There's so much happening, and there's so many things colliding, and there's so much to take away from every moment to figure out what's actually happening. We're giving so many opportunities at each moment, but that's just another one, and that's one that we're experiencing. I know Asaf probably has other
No, I
stories.
identify a lot with what you're saying in terms of how it is here. Yeah, man. It's intense. It's really intense because in the last, what is it, Chris? Like, really, in last 2-3 months are very, very every day, Seth. Every day here, there's stuff it doesn't get to your news. It only gets to your news when it's big enough to overshadow that pro and against abortion demonstration, for
Yeah.
instance, right?
Mm-hmm.
But every day something is either happening here in terms of some sort of an extremist committing a terrorist act, or almost happening. So a few days ago, like Chris mentioned, two guys killed 3 people with an axe. Like how insane that is. A day afterwards, this is the stuff you don't hear. There's areas where they're not exactly not the big cities, smaller cities that are more closer to the borders of the country, and they're easier to infiltrate into. There's a dad with his family, 7 people, right, like 6 or 7 kids and his wife, and all of a sudden he sees like someone running towards in his backyard, just sitting with his family, and he sees someone running towards him with like a knife or something, and he managed to push his family into the home, lock the doors, and he managed to disable him, to neutralize him. So, and that could have been another kind of, and this type of thing is happening every day. There's something like that on the news. So even though in terms of amounts, it's not like there's huge, like in the horrible war situation in the Ukraine, it's not like you see hundreds and hundreds of people getting murdered. You see a few.
700 people died in Chicago last year. 700 people
Exactly.
died.
It's not the amount,
Right.
but it's the
Yeah.
terror. It is really, if you ask my wife, we didn't send the kids to school twice in the last month and a half, just
Because all of a sudden it all
because-
seems like it all seems possible.
exactly, just because my wife goes, I'm not sending the kids to school today. That's it. Why? Because when you start living in fear, then you can come up with all kinds of scenarios, and and it's frightening. However,
But what's interesting is that
Yeah.
it makes you come up with, it makes you start thinking, okay, so what's the fix, right? I mean, as soon as you feel any kind of pain, any kind of uncomfortability, what's the fix? And so here you go. You have one small region of the world thinking about how to fix one small problem, and just multiply that, however many, and each country is dealing with its own problems, and between countries dealing with its problems. It just seems like ongoing problems, and it does feel like it's just kind of like you're just kind of getting choked a little bit, and
That was the
and I mean,
purpose.
our show exists just because of that, almost.
The video at the beginning of the 3 different characters on the same street corner, and here you're talking about the Middle East. You're talking about those problems on that street corner in Philadelphia or New York. Those problems are, a couple decades old, maybe a couple years old. The things in the Middle East were
Right.
these are thousands of years of conflicts.
Right, and there's history and there's spiritual history to it as well, which we won't get into right now. But being, it's hard for me to think about how I would see this whole situation with no Kabbalistic perspective.
Right.
I really
Hopeless.
I can't imagine the kind of horror and hopelessness and terror that so many of our fellow citizens here now feel. Really, and why am I saying that? Because look, what is it, a year ago, Chris, when we had to go and put our families and ourselves in bomb shelters?
Right.
For just a year ago, right? So we've been through that too, and what we have, practicing Kabbalah, studying Kabbalah, gives you another perspective. You really do relate to what's happening on 2 levels. There's a physical
and nothing
level.
changed.
Nothing changed.
Nothing changes.
True.
Yeah.
But you see it differently. On one
But
level,
you see it and you feel it differently. Yeah.
one level is, stays the physical level. If someone comes to attack you, you better be able to attack first. It's as simple as that, at least to defend yourself. And you can't be just, if there's a rockets flying.
If Israel does not defend itself, just to be clear, you guys would be dead.
Oh, yeah.
It would be over. There would, right?
It's this
Sure,
constant. It's
sure,
just this
but-
pressure, like
So just right. So that, right.
Always,
so just
always,
it's you.
yeah.
You have to defend, otherwise you would just be
equilibrium.
dead.
Right. But again, I don't even want to go into, this might sound like a political thing now and against Israel,
Oh, you
for
can always
Israel.
make it political.
That's not where what I'm saying is that Kabbalistically speaking, you do have to treat this level of perception called the material world, the physical world, you have to treat it seriously, but not literally. What I mean is, if someone comes to attack you, you got to defend yourself. But that doesn't mean that that's where it ends, and that's where you add a whole other layer of relation to this to the situation.
And it's just that
on a deeper
boundary
level.
layer. Even there's so much exists behind it, but when you start to feel what the boundary is between what it is that you saw before versus the same thing that you see, but
You know what? I'll just say
there's a different intention. There's a different intention behind it.
I'll just say it
Towards
and,
you.
and it might sound really controversial, but I mean, for those who are with us for a while, they'll understand. Those who are not might really not. Some of my fellow citizens hearing me now would be very hard for them to hear this. But while I'm thinking about defending myself, while I'm actually defending myself, and we should actually do that because otherwise we will die. At the same time, we actually have to work on generating love towards everyone, and that includes our enemies. That includes our haters. That includes those who are coming to kill us. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to stand there and let them kill me. I'm going to kill them first if I can, if that's what they're coming to do to me. And yet, my end goal, my intention, is that we will be able to rise above these childish, egoistic, unevolved relationship and understand that we're part of a greater whole. Me and my enemies, we are one. We are one, even though we are opposite.
It'll take more than one generation. It's not gonna, one generation. It won't be fixed, in one day. You have to educate both sides have to educate themselves about how to speak, how to listen, how to exist.
Yeah.
I mean, people need to fundamentally understand about life.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
I think everyone's a little bit ready for that. They're a little bit ready to listen. Just like when you look at your son and you're like, is he ready to hear the little bit of knowledge that I'm ready to drop on him? Can I bring it down enough and like water down enough to where he can just get a little bit?
I do think, again, Seth is going to say that I'm giving too much credit to people again, but I do think that because the situation is becoming so bad. Again, it's not just the stuff that's happening here.
Everywhere.
It's all around the world.
And everything.
The Russia-Ukraine thing, and even those things that Seth brought up in the beginning. It's the polarization is increasing and so on. I think that there is some growing amount of people. There is some growing worldview that recognizes that while we could be very hostile to each other on social media, our political leaders between countries and within countries, between factions, could be super hostile. And the media only increases the hostility even more. And yet, I think when people are at the very basic level, we know we are similar. At the end of the day, as different as we are, we know that we need the same thing. Every human being needs to be safe, well-fed, have medical attention if they need it, education, and love. At the end of the day, we need to eat, we need to drink, and we need to feel loved.
But at the end of the day, there's always the but.
No, but I think sure there is, but I think that it's gradually that inevitable. It's an inevitable realization, is what I'm trying to say. And I think gradually, bit by bit, through horrible suffering, unfortunately, people are gradually learning that. You can see some blips of that awareness here and there. There are some moments where you see, for example, I saw a while ago on social media or somewhere on social media, but you see, it didn't go mainstream. People from Iran, for instance, and people from Israel showing love to each other, which is very opposite to what you see in the politics. And this is what I'm saying. There is I think an inevitable
lower level, on like a level that is not being broadcasted to you, quote, and like literally and not literally.
Look, it's inevitable. Us all of those things.
No, they're not, and they're not helping that realization come about. That's a big point that we didn't make when we talked about social media in the beginning. They're not helping that. Now, why is it so hard for us to manipulate ourselves to be good to each other, right? That's the unanswered question, right?
Right.
Did I get it right?
This is really
I have that in my notes
like Seth used to say.
2 hours
You've
ago.
got 30 seconds.
So we when it's all directly inside the ego, right? Like the algorithms work wonders. That's why they divide us so well, because what they offer us is immediate dopamine hit, immediate
Big Mac, large fries.
Yes, exactly. It's the same thing.
Coke.
Yes, when the algorithm serves you with content that gets you aggravated about the other side, whatever that side may be, that gives you a hit, a direct hit of pleasure in your ego. And that's why we are so easily manipulatable by these algorithms. Why can't we manipulate each other to be good to each other? Because that requires.
There is.
Go ahead. Go ahead. You first.
Because that requires what? It's just one extra word. Just add it. I don't know, 2 words.
Magic powers.
There's I would say magic powers is what we get when we do it, but I would say free choice is the issue. Unfortunately,
I said to wrap it up in 30 seconds. He was to bring up free choice.
I didn't say we'll explain what free choice is, but the problem is that in order for us
magic powers.
Magic powers.
Next Thursday.
Okay.
Okay.
No, I do want to say there is a dopamine hit from being good to each other. There is a dopamine hit from that. Maybe we can work with that a little bit. Let the ego feel like, hey.
There is a way
enjoy from that a little bit.
You can harness the ego to connecting with others, but only to a certain extent.
Magic powers is where it's at.
Superpowers, yeah.
Let's get those magic
powers.
Loving each other
really is
a superpower. That's what we're saying on this show. Everyone who has been with us.
Everyone loves the super movies just because they can feel like as soon as you leave the seats of the theater, you're like, oh, yeah, let me fly out of here. I also want to
fly.
You check it. You're like, maybe I can do the Spider-Man thing.
Maybe. Yeah. I remember as a kid, I watched the first, Spider-Man, the old ones. And I had this rope, and I would tie the rope, and I would throw it.
Wait, so I got a bookending before we conclude. So the genie, right? The genie in the bottle. So he gives you one wish. That is, the genie is nature. There's a deeper force of evolution. There's a deeper force in nature that we don't see in our immediate 5 senses. And it's waiting for our wish. It's waiting for our conscious, direct, active, human wish. And if that wish is to have the superpower of loving everyone and being surrounded by a loving humanity, then that's the kind of wish that nature can really grant us. Because nature has it. It's all around. All of nature's systems work in perfect harmony, perfect mutuality, perfect reciprocity. How the heck are we the only ones outside of this harmonious existence? Because that's deliberate. Because only by being outside of it, we can make a conscious wish to be a part of it. And hopefully, from show to show, from
I want to
case
love
to case,
everyone and
we'll
beyond.
That's the true meaning of flying, by the way. Flying above the ego. Gravity.
Here we go. He wants to... Okay.
Let's go.
Crank
Let's
up the
go.
music.
Put the song on. Bye, everybody.
And in our hands we have a choice that waits. Together rising high above these lights, and see the world through your eyes. In every moment there's a chance to see another vision of what we could be. Behind the colors of the shattered heart, the color of unity. Open our hearts, together we will find, and we'll see that love can cover all the crime. Open our hearts, together